The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, and on December 1st and 2nd, the StarCityGames.com Open Series comes to Baltimore, and this event is going to be huge. We're talking hundreds of players, a Standard and Legacy Open with $10,000 in prizes each, paying down to 64th place. At least 16 players qualifying for any StarCityGames.com Invitational in 2012 or 2013. Live coverage all weekend long, courtesy of SCG Live, and as much Magic the Gathering as we can pack into one weekend. So make plans to join us when the StarCityGames.com Open Series comes to Baltimore, and we'll see you there. Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of The Magic Show. Now this week we're back at it with another fun-filled romp through the world of Magic the Gathering and discussing the unfortunate leak of 5 Gatecrash Mythics, some FNM Promo thoughts, and the new Grand Prix trophies. Let's go. Now first up, there's no doubt that one story encompassed them all these past 2 weeks. And on November 17th, a Craigslist ad went up advertising 5 new cards that were up for instant sale. Their names sounded legit. For example, Aurelia, the Warbringer, which wasn't exactly something a con artist just comes up with, and other names were equally intriguing. The ad was poorly worded, however, and it wasn't clear that the seller even played Magic. But one phone call led to a meeting, and soon thereafter came pictures, and to me, there's no doubt about it, they're very much real. Now, before I get into what they do and how they work, let's note that this is not a positive for Magic. I feel it's my duty to discuss news this significant, but it's just a small portion of the feel-bad that was felt for the huge new Phyrexia Godbook leak. Not letting Wizards do their magic, as it were, during spoiler season makes everyone worse off. As someone who deals in big splashy releases to get the community talking, it's a true art form to build hype and interest at just the right time, and it only takes one idiot to ruin it. But anyway, we got spoilers, and what has been seen can't be unseen. They're all mythics. No new mechanics were spoiled, but we've got some sweet ones regardless. I'll cover them back to front, with my favorite coming last. Now first up is Hellkite Tyrant. Now this is a mythic built to ruin your day in Sealed and Draft. I mean, for God's sakes, it's a 6-mana 6/5 flying trampler. But in Commander, it takes on a whole new role, ruining your friend's artifact-based deck. Whether it shows up through the breach, or by a sneak attack, or even through an Unburial Rites afterwards, this guy is going to send shivers down somebody's back at the Commander table. While I don't think it has a lick of constructed value, casual players can truly appreciate it. Next up was a wild one. Enter the Infinite. Now this card feels like the old R&D test they used to ask new hires. What would you cost a spell that said, win the game on it? The answer, there is no cost, because you should never ever print a spell like that. Now this one, however, is pretty close, but again, it just doesn't win you the game. Even spells like Battle of Wits or Door to Nothingness still require a turn or a large hoop to jump through to get there. And this is no different. Enter the Infinite is an amazing card, particularly in an Omniscience deck. As Legacy has shown, Show and Tell knows no bounds when it comes to doing stupidly unfair things, and Omniscience is one of those things. Now, ultimately, Burning Wish for Enter the Infinite is a wee bit overkill. I mean, for God's sake, just get Petals of Insight and draw your deck already. But for the player who truly needs to go up, over, and then somersault to the top, this card is for you. My guess is Johnny's Around the World Squealed hope to one day cast a 12-mana sorcery and expect it to resolve, all while doing some crazily dumb thing next turn they froth at the mouth just trying to explain it to you. Next up is Baborgamos Enraged. Yes, the second coming of the legendary creature from way back when. This guy is back, costs an absolute million, but has all sorts of cool abilities tacked on this time. Now, back in the day, old Baborgi here was a 7-mana 6/7 trampler that did stuff when he hit opponents that made your army bigger. This time he's 8 mana, a 7/6 trampler, but when he hits your opponent, he reveals cards on top of your library that are hopefully lands, and by the way, happens to have Seismic Assault stapled onto it. You know that little problem you'd always have with super ramp decks where you'd play all your ramp spells like Seek the Horizon and then find that you didn't really need all of those lands to cast your super huge spells? Well, Baborgamos here finally gives you something to do with them. Ideally killing all of their guys and then smashing in to get all those lands back. Second verse and all that. But let's get to a card that I'm real excited about. Aurelia, the Warbringer. Are people seriously not excited by this card? This card is crazy good. I mean, look, I know, every freaking Relentless Assault card since ever has been terrible. They've printed 11 of them. They've let you get the effect for no mana. They've let you cast it from your graveyard for just pitching a land. They've even given you the same spell free on your next turn for no additional cost. Probably the most successful of the bunch, provided its value immensely in Finest Hour. But never have they just given it to you for free on what is essentially a 6/4 flying haste vigilance creature. I mean, damn people, you for real? This ability has never ever been attached to a creature with haste, and that is so important. Now look, I loved me some Godo Bandit Lord back in the day. I played the Tatsumasa Genju of the Fields combo like it was going out of style, where each activation of Genju gave you another trigger of lifelink, gain 1,000,000. Thanks. But even Godo only untapped Samurai, and he sure didn't have haste. Stoneforge Mystic also kind of trumped him in every possible fashion ever. Whatever. And don't start talking about mana cost. We live in a Farseek world, peeps, and this girl is just as castable as those playing things like Armada Worm with Cackling Counterpart and then playing Unburial Rights when you deal with all that silliness. 4-color decks that feature double mana requirements of almost every color are easy peasy these days, and Wizards is not going to provide less mana fixing. I mean, with all 10 Shocklands, the multicolor madness is coming, and Naya Aggro is going to be a sick one. Now I'll be right back with my favorite spoiler from Gatecrash so far. The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, where you can now order Return to Ravnica boxes, cases, fat packs, and more with great prices, excellent customer service, and the world's largest Magic the Gathering singles inventory. StarCityGames.com is your one-stop shop for all your Magic the Gathering needs. Visit us on the web at StarCityGames.com and order Return to Ravnica today. Alright, now the big dog, the most exciting of all these spoilers, has to be the Planeswalker. Domri Rade is a man just made to do some awesome things. Now first, let's recognize that Sarkhan Vol wasn't quite as powerful as many thought he was at the time. In fact, when Alara Reborn was first spoiled, many thought that Sarkhan Vol was the most powerful of all those revealed, despite, 2 completely dominating Standard and 1 seeing serious Vintage play for years, continuing to do so. But I can't hate too much on old Sarkhan. He's a fine walker for those who like the beats, but he's suffered from what many underplayed walkers suffer from: inability to protect himself and pretty crappy when behind. And that's why I'm most excited about Domri Rade. Now first, he's cheaper. Second, he's got a sweet card advantage ability. Third, he can both protect himself and catch up on board presence with his second ability. And let's face it, that ultimate is pretty insane. All my creatures now have Double Strike, Trample, Hexproof, Haste, Death Touch, Flying, Flash, Indestructible, Intimidate, Lifelink, Reach, Vigilance, Battlecry, Exalted, Infect, Shadow, Undying, Wither, and Bushido too. Which brings me to my theory. I feel the Gruul mechanic will have something to do with the top of your library, specifically creatures. Now Magic has plenty of top of the library mechanics before. The closest I can think of to Domri's first ability is Kinship. This wasn't a very pushed mechanic, but it did have a shining beacon in the form of Wolf Skull Shaman, which was just the right creature types to encourage its inclusion in the powerful Elf decks and Standard at the time. Making 2/2s for free just feels so good. Notice how Domri and Baborgamos both discuss the top of your library. I don't think this is a coincidence. Domri, in fact, combines the creature nature of green and the random nature of red, something I think the Gruul mechanic will take perfect advantage of. Man, while it sucks to get them early, I don't think it can be denied that there's some craziness already seen from Gatecrash, and I'm definitely excited to see the new things from Wizards come early next year. Now moving on, Gitaxian Probe was revealed as the new FNM foil, which is, Alright, FNM is undoubtedly some of the weirdest foil choices I've ever seen this side of a Gateway program. For example, Savage Lands. Really? I mean, come on, Wizards, it's like you're trying to make no sense. But for a while, we had it good. Glistener Elf was a solid choice, followed by Despise, which unfortunately wasn't half as good as we thought it would be. Then Tectonic Edge, which would have been cool a year ago when it was legal. And then we got back on track with a huge string of amazing promos: Dismember, Ancient Grudge, Acidic Slime, Forbidden Alchemy, Avacyn's Pilgrim, Lingering Souls, Evolving Wilds, and Pillar of Flame. And you know what all of those promos have in common? They're all legal for Standard when you release them. Yeah, Friday Night Magic just announced Modern as a legal format for the tournament. I'm sorry, here's a quarter. Call somebody who cares. I want Standard legal FNM promos because I'm never going to tell somebody, yeah, you should go play FNM where they'll have all these fun Storm decks and you can get a promo that goes right into it. You know what Storm is, right? FNM promos should be Standard legal, period. Cute and clever choice, but come on, Wizards. Lastly, the new GP trophies were debuted last week, and All I'm going to say is I like cups for my trophies, all right? I like the silhouette. I like the power in holding an uber goblet looking thing. Hell, I even like how you can drink from them if you're feeling lucky, because the chemicals in those metals will kill you people, seriously. Regardless, I'd like to congratulate Watsy on trying something new, because between the awkward glass things and the ridiculously huge plaques you could serve dinner on, it's nice to have some consistency, along with the Cleon weaponry they've decided to give out to everybody. So that's enough Magic for this week. Until next time, Magic players, this is Evan Irwin, tapping the cards so you don't have to.
I always like the fatties.